Restart?
Sorry.
I thought that was a 21-gun salute. Is everyone looking to me? Okay.
Next, we'll have the Naval Air Station Lemoore Color Guard presenting arms, presenting the flag arms. Thank you.
Color Guard, attention. Carry, colors. Ready, 2, forward, march. Color Guard, halt. Left, face. Present, arms. Hooray, rest.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Color Guard, attention. Shoulder, arms. Ready, 2, Right. Face. Forward. March.
Okay, everybody can now be seated. And thank you so much, Fernando and Tina, for that wonderful rendition of our anthem. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kaweah Health. All of you that are here in person, as well as those that are joining us virtually. My name is Gary Herbst. I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Kaweah Health, and it is an absolute honor to be with all of you today. So on Friday, November 11th, we will celebrate Veterans Day, but our country will pay tribute to and honor the more than 18 million men and women who have served in our military and defended our country over the course of history. Here at Kaweah Health, we have 108 documented veterans, including those that are active on duty, that altogether represent 943 years of service to our community and our patients. These are doctors, nurses, and other staff members who care for our community at Kaweah Health. We thank these individuals for their sacrifice, their dedication, and their commitment to defend the United States of America and to protect our values and our lives. Every day at Kaweah Health, we take great care in honoring our veterans. Although COVID has certainly presented us with many challenges, we've developed a program called We Honor Veterans through Kaweah Health Hospice, created specifically for veterans. It thanks them for defending our freedom. It also provides them with resources they need in life, and whenever a veteran passes away at Kaweah Health, we pay our respects by draping an American flag over the patient and their gurney. We believe every veteran should be honored and respected. In the United States, Veterans Day annually falls on November 11th, this coming Friday. Excuse me. This is a reflection of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Where major hostilities of World War I were formally ended and the signing of an armistice agreement was made with Allies. In November 1919, 1 year after the armistice ending World War I went into effect, President Woodrow Wilson declared November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day, a day that should be filled with solemn pride and the heroism of those who died in service to our country and with gratitude for the victory. Armistice Day honored the cause of world peace, but was primarily used to honor World War I veterans. After World War II, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed legislation in 1954 to change the name from Armistice to Veterans. Veterans Day is intended to honor and thank all military personnel who served the United States in all wars, particularly living veterans. It is marked by special events like today all around the nation. We have over 100 veterans caring for our community at Kaweah Health, and we are proud to have U.S. Naval Officer veteran Garth Gibson as one of our Kaweah Health board members. Unfortunately, Garth was not able to be with us today, but we do have two members of our board that I would like to recognize. David Francis, the president of the Kaweah Health Board, and Mike Olmers, also a member of the Kaweah Health Board. Now, I consider everyone to be in this room a dignitary, but but there is one gentleman that absolutely stands out among dignitaries, and that is John Crow. Major General John T. Crow, retired from the U.S. Army. General Crow served a total of 39 years in the service from 1960 to 1999. He missed Vietnam due to his security clearance and his knowledge of nuclear weapons in Europe, which barred him from flying over any communist country or Vietnam. He had short tours in Germany, Japan, Korea, and Bosnia. Statewide, he was assigned to and/or supported units in 42 states. So General, thank you so much for your service to our country and for being here today to help honor and celebrate you and all your fellow veterans. I would like to now introduce Carl Fabrizio. Carl is a chaplain here at Kaweah Health, also a veteran. He served in the Army from 1981 to 1993, and then served in the Air Force from 1995 to 2013. He did a combat tour in Afghanistan in 2006 and 7, and a combat tour in Iraq from 2008 to 2009. He was a member of the California Air National Guard from 2014 to 2022, and he is now a retired U.S. Air Force colonel. So please join me in welcoming Carl Fabrizio to give our invocation.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to go without the mic if that's okay. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Chaplains are used to that anyway. Eternal God, I thank you first for life. I thank you for bringing everyone together here today, both in person and virtually through our live streams, to be part of this very special event recognizing a unique band of brothers, Kaweah employees who have served honorably in our nation's armed forces. God, I ask you to bless everyone here, our Kaweah executive team, those that work so hard to make today's ceremony a reality, our distinguished guests, and most of all, God, bless the women and men in our Kaweah family who have answered the call of service to defend our nation. Some endured the hardships of combat, and others did not. However, all were equally willing and ready, in whatever fashion, to sacrifice whatever was required to protect the lives and interests of those at home. So, loving God, we give you thanks and ask for your gracious blessings upon our celebration today. Amen.
Thank you, Carl. At this time, it's my honor to introduce our own Assemblyman Devin Mathis, who's here with us today, and I'll tell you a little bit about Devin. So Devin is a California Assemblyman representing the 26th Assembly District of the state of California, which encompasses Tulare, Inyo, and a portion of Kern County. Assemblyman Mathis served as a sergeant in the Army National Guard for nearly 10 years with 2 combat tours in Iraq. In 2008, during his second tour in Iraq, he sustained major injuries from an IED roadside bomb attack for which he received a Purple Heart. After returning home as a decorated war hero, Assemblyman Mathis went through the VA system where he persevered and decided to commit his life to public service. In 2014, Assemblyman Mathis was elected to the State Assembly and now holds many important committee appointments, including Vice Chair of the Agricultural Committee. He is a member of the Governmental Organization Committee, the Natural Resources Committee, the Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee. He is a member of the Assembly Committee on Budget, including Subcommittee 1 on Health and Human Services. Assemblyman Mathis also currently sits on the Governor's Military Council, appointed by the Speaker, and on the International Board of the state's Ag and Rural Leaders, where he helps advocate and draft policies. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our veteran and State Assembly member, Devin Mathis.
Can you all hear me without that? How many other veterans hear their bios and they're like, oh, wow. I look at my staff, I'm like, you guys make me sound really good. Because in my mind, I'm still just another guy. Kid from Porterville, California, from the wrong side of the tracks. Where we come from, and growing up through high school, and it's fun in politics because everybody sees you and you're in a suit. So now I'm just another white guy with a beard in a suit. You can laugh at that. It's okay. But I look back, and when I was going to school out here, I was Devon Matias from Eastside Poros. You laugh because you know. And when you grow up and you go through the struggles, you go through, I grew up from a poor family. We went through, the expectation was just graduate high school and don't screw up. And how many of you guys were that way growing up? Nobody really talked to me about college. It was my senior year in high school when my grandma was like, hey, so you gonna go to college after you graduate? I was like, Grandma, I'm going to adult school right now so I can get the credits to pass. Because I wasn't academically there yet. And joined the military, went off, as you heard, 2 combat tours, all of that, and then, you get a couple of roadside bombs, and you think, how many of you guys thought you were going to do, where's my vets? We got over here and over here. How many of y'all thought you were going to stay in the military and do the full time? Okay, how many of you did that? Right? You see life changes. And my point is, as we go through these things and we go through life, we encounter different types of struggles, whether it's a roadside bomb or something else happening. The plans that we have always change, right? That's the one constant thing we know in this life, is it's always going to change. There's always going to be something, right? And we learn through planning, right? How many of us learn strategic planning in the military? Right? Fun times. Your first plan, once it hits the first obstacle, is going to change. And we know that. And it's really great to see Kaweah Health bring so many veterans in, because you bring in that talent. You bring in folks that know, hey, yeah, this is the plan for the day, and it changed. And you know how to adopt because you already have that built in. Thank you, Uncle Sam. It's now part of your DNA. And that's something that, nothing against our civilian partners, we love you, but they don't have that same thing drilled into them the way we do. And it's just really neat to see it, and to see you guys here, to see you guys grow, to see so many veterans as part of this community continue to serve. I know for me, it was, dude, you're not an Army sergeant anymore. What are you going to do with yourself? I'll go back to college. We'll figure it out. We'll do. Started with a what do they call it? A certificate program to do counseling. That's what I started. Never thought I'd be an assembly member. How I started. And how many of you started off with, oh, I'm gonna go get the certificate to get into nursing or to get into my field. Right? A lot of us start there. And then you get going, and it's like, oh, I can do this. I'm smarter than I thought. Let's go for the associates. Let's go for the next degree. Let's keep moving forward, because you build that momentum. My message to you veterans: don't let the momentum stop. Use the tools, use the resources that are there. There's no way I would be here today if it wasn't for health. And I know we get caught up. I know sometimes we get very prideful, especially veterans, right? get a little more chismo sometimes. And we're like, I got this, right? But get the help. What's that next step? What's that next thing that we can do? What's that next change that we can step up and do? Because we're all capable of doing it. And it's just having that courage to say, hey, you know what? I see this. How do we take that step? And you guys are blessed to have such a good team here at Kaweah that's willing to help. It's fantastic to see. I know I've talked with Gary and the board members on other things, and every now and then they'll be like, hey, what else can we do for our vets? I was like, well, have you asked them? So it's great to see. I'm not going to stand up here and go, this is what being a veteran means, because every veteran is a little bit different. It's the service that we did, why we signed up, it's all because we wanted to serve others and to do more. But the reasons get a little bit deeper. And the struggles for each one of us are a little different, but they're the same. Have that camaraderie amongst each other, lean on each other, work with each other, help each other. I can't go a Veterans Day without mentioning the fact that we lose more veterans here at home. That's what kills me the most. Some of the last data, I've got the 22 a day. The last data I heard was we're at 30. Pretty much all you guys in this room a day. It's nuts. So check in. I see some of the looks. I see some of the faces. Take the breath. Check in with those other people you serve with. Don't let them get all, tough guy on you or whatever, because they do it. Check in on them. Just take their Facebook or their social media like, oh yeah, I'm great, it's fine. You gotta have those conversations. You gotta talk to them. You gotta break past that barrier of that front that we all put on, right? So just lean on each other, check in on each other. I know Veterans Day is tough. I know a lot of us get the survivor's guilt. We deal with that, use that as fuel to push harder. I know I do. I thank each and every one of you for your service, then and now, your service to continue on, to help in the healthcare profession, because we need it. There are massive shortages. I know you guys hear it every day. We need you in these jobs, in these things, progressing, helping others, and bringing others on board to help keep our community safe. So thank you for what you all do. Kaweah Delta, thank you for encouraging him and making Kaweah a veteran-friendly community to be in. Thank you all. Have a great Veterans Day.
Thank you, Devin. On behalf of Kaweah Health, thank you for your service in our military, but also thank you for your continued service in the state assembly. Devin is definitely a supporter of Kaweah Health. He's an unofficial member of the Kaweah Health family. And we'll always be here for you if you ever need us, because Devin's always been there for us when we've needed him. And we've called on him several times over the course of the COVID pandemic, and he's dropped everything and did everything he could to support us. So we greatly appreciate that, and also the message that you just challenged us with, to continuously check in and ask how our veterans are doing. And not maybe to accept just that initial surface response, but maybe dig a little bit deeper. So thank you for that. Okay, it is now my honor to, let's see, where am I? You can tell we didn't rehearse this by that long pregnant pause at the beginning of the program. So now we are going to listen to a compilation of military songs, and there is a different song for each branch of the military. And I'm assuming that all of you that are in that particular branch know your song quite well. And so we would ask that when you hear your song, that you stand throughout the course of the song so that we can celebrate you and recognize you. And for any of those that have beautiful voices, if you want to sing along, Tina, are you? Okay. Rhea wants me to use a mic, but that means you have to know how to turn it off. All right. Is that working? Oh, there we go. All right. That was very uplifting. I love it. They all have that great beat to them and just get you fired up. And it was great to see, I think every branch was represented. Had somebody standing through every song, so that was wonderful. All right, now it's my honor to call up one of our very own Kaweah Health family members, who happens to also be a veteran. So Ms. Jill Anderson.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is such a nice treat. And Assemblyman Mathis, thank you so much for your insightful and encouraging words. So when we talked about today's ceremony, we decided to do something a little bit different with additional veteran stories. We wanted to involve some of our employees and physicians in talking about kind of a panelist conversation. So I'm going to be the panelist moderator. I'm going to try to keep it a little light, similar to what Assemblyman Mathis did. But as he noted, not all of us had it easy. I was lucky, but not everybody else was, with respect to my particular years. Again, my name is Jill Anderson. I served in the Navy. I was a hospital corpsman pharmacy tech from 1990 to 1998. And before we get started with our panelists, I want to take a minute to thank us as an organization, Kaweah Health. I know when we were prepping for our panelist conversation, what I heard a lot from our panelists was, this is so awesome that our organization thinks so much of us and values us to do this. This is like the 4th year in a row of recent years where we've done something to celebrate and honor and have a ceremony. And I just know Gary, executive team members, board members, everyone sitting here, our esteemed colleagues, the veterans love this. One day out of the year, right? It's okay to celebrate ourselves and participate in this. And just know it's valued and very much appreciated. All right, and then I would also be remiss if I didn't mention Deborah Volison and Kelsey Davis. They did a phenomenal job of coordinating everything here today. And then the room setup, we also have the marketing team. We had an official photographer. If you notice all these really cool photos that were up here. And then last but not least, our environmental services team came in and they cleaned this room, scrubbed it last night, and helped make it look really, really pretty for today. So thank you to Tendai and his team for that. All right, I'm ready for panelists to come up. We've got Tim Alvarado, right? We've got Dr. Haley, we've got Chris Luttrell, we've got Shemaya King, and Rich Moore. Sorry, last but not least, Rich Moore. So we've got chairs. So I'm going to kind of queue up some questions or scenarios, and when one of them feels that want to talk about it or respond, I'll hand them the mic. How about that? All right, so, but I think first, let's do some introductions. We'll kind of pass the mic around. I introduce myself. But let's start with Dr. Haley. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, how many years in which branch?
Roger Haley, I spent 9 years active duty in the United States Navy.
Rich Moore, and I spent 24 years in the Navy Reserve.
All right, Tim.
Tim Alvarado, 8 years, Navy.
I'm Shemaya King. I spent 4 years in the Navy.
Chris Luttrell, I have my own mic. Chris Luttrell, United States Army, 5 years.
Okay, Chris, I guess we'll use your mic for that end. That sounds great. All right, so the first question we're going to talk about, or the first scenario is, was there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew you wanted to serve in the armed forces? And if so, when was it? Like when was it? And again, I kind of asterisk this with, maybe not everyone was volunteered, right? So in the spirit of that, our panelists are going to share as much as they feel comfortable sharing, right? I'll start though, because I kind of have a lighthearted story. Many of you may remember that movie Top Gun, the first one, right? And then maybe the second one, Top Gun Maverick, that just came out this past summer. I was in high school when Top Gun first came out. And I saw that movie and I thought, I want to be on an aircraft carrier so bad. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to be on an aircraft carrier. That didn't exactly work out, but when I was and I also realized the pivotal moment was I was wasting my parents' money in college tuition and didn't feel right. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I marched on down to the Navy and the Air Force recruiting stations and said, I think I want to do, I'm interested, I want to do something I think I can have after the military time. I think it's something in healthcare. I don't exactly know what, but let's start there. The Navy was the first one to call me. So I did my 4 years active, 4 years inactive, and it provided me a whole career in healthcare. I am forever blessed and thankful for that. But that was a pivotal moment. Top Gun, the first one. Is there anyone else who would like to share? If, what is there a pivotal moment in your life of when you knew you wanted to serve? And when was it? Tim?
Actually, there wasn't necessarily a pivotal moment when I wanted to join. I'm from Orosi originally, born and raised. And out there, when I graduated high school, it was either, you're going to be a farm laborer or get into dealing drugs. I mean, that was it for high school. That's all we had. My buddy actually decided he was going to join the Army. So he's like, hey, can you go take the ASVAB with me? I know you're not going to join, but go with me. I don't want to go by myself. I was like, sure, I'll go take the ASVAB. Sure enough, I was pretending to go to COS. I was signed up, I promise. There was an intent. And it just wasn't working out. So I went and I talked to the Navy recruiter first. He may or may not have fed me some falsehoods about the Air Force not letting me choose a job. So I was like, sure, I'll go Navy. So he said, there's intelligence specialists. I was like, that just sounds awesome. So I'll do that. So I ended up joining the Navy. My buddy actually didn't end up joining the Army. I was the only one that left. So I was like, thanks, I appreciate that. But I got a heck of a career out of it, so I can't complain. So, anyone else?
Yeah, Rich?
All right, so my experience is a little different. I was graduating from high school during the draft for Vietnam, which of course was not a very popular war at the time, but certainly that hung over everyone's head, that if you're a senior in high school, you knew that you were going to get a draft notice. So at the time I had an option. I did well in school, thankfully. My father had served in the Navy, so I applied for a Navy scholarship. The impetus from that was to go to college rather than be drafted, to be honest, and to do it where my parents didn't have to pay for it. So I applied to the scholarship. Fortunately, on the same day in the mail, I received a draft notice and an acceptance for the University of Colorado with a Navy scholarship. So that drove, as I said, my father was in the Navy. I always felt an obligation to serve the country. But certainly there was other motivation at the time. Signed up as a high school senior for a 10-year commitment of my life from 18 to 28. Which is much different than taking a job. I had 4 years of ROTC college and a 6-year obligation after that. So it certainly was a commitment, and I think that's one important thing. I later served as a recruiter in the Navy for officer recruitment, and I administered the oath of office to hundreds of people. That oath sticks with me every day. You make that commitment, the oath doesn't go away. You get out of the Navy, you swore an oath to the Constitution and to the United States. That oath stays with you forever. You are really bound by that. And that's a very important part to me of my military service. But certainly, I graduated from college. I went to Alameda, California on a large supply ship. Walked in the first day and they said, here are 40 guys, you're in charge of them. And they, most of them, like me, to be honest, had joined the Navy in order to avoid a draft notice to be in the Army. The Vietnam War still was going on 4 years later after I started college. And so it certainly was a different time than what you see now. I think you'll find a lot of veterans have trouble talking about their service. To us, it was just a job, and it's a job that we did. So if you meet a veteran, certainly thank them for their service, but don't be concerned if they don't really want to talk about it. It's now history for me. So,
Dr. Haley?
First of all, I want to say thank you to veterans that are here. My active duty service is very boring. I'll tell a story later. Maybe I had to borrow from my brother. But to answer your question, more of a process than an event. family was military, dad Army, 2 Navy brothers, 1 Air Force brother, 47 years of total active service, plus reserve time above that. And so when I accepted to medical school, I applied for the Navy scholarship program in medical school, didn't get it. In 2 years, halfway through medical school, they came out with a new program that fit much better. So we ended up in the Navy, in part because my dad was in the Army, and that experience. But, so this, it was a family business.
Lucky for us, it was a family business, right? Many generations served. I know plenty of us also fall into that, have that family history as well. Thank you, Dr. Haley. Shemaya, I have a question for you.
Okay.
At what point in your military career did you start feeling pride about serving and then now being a civilian and being a nurse? Can you talk us through that?
Sure.
So I think for me, I always felt a little bit of some pride when I was in the Navy, and especially when I wore my uniform. And as I made more and more rank, I felt very proud of that while I was in. But I think it's been more meaningful being a veteran, because as a woman, when I mentioned, oh, I was in the Navy, people seriously think I'm the coolest person ever. And I'm like, wow, thanks guys. Like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
That's cool. I'm sure many around this room happy that you get that response, right? So I wishing that every previous generation and every other decade of those who served before we did have the same experience. But thank you for sharing that. I have one more scenario. We're going to call on Chris Luttrell. Chris, I think that there's some really meaningful nuggets and meaningful things you can help impart on what it's like to work alongside a veteran. And not only at Kaweah Health, but can you kind of talk us through that, please?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times we end up in panels like this and it's like war story, war story, war story. You know, I went there, got blown up here, fell out of that. But for me, what's really important is how we view veterans in the workforce and who we are. And I think that there's a lot of kind of negative existing ideas of what it is a veteran looks like, right? Especially in the workforce and civilian workforce. We're conditioned by movies and things like that. I was reading something today, 10% of all veterans actually saw combat, just 10%. The rest of us were doing pretty much civilian jobs. We're engineers and mechanics, all those kinds of things. Most of the people that you walk up to and meet today have those experiences. Those experiences that are from the military, I think that translate and transfer into the workforce that are really important. The first one's teamwork. Veterans are very team-oriented. Everything we do is team-oriented. All the sniper stuff, it's all fake. It's all fake. The truth is that we work in teams. Some are smaller than others, and it's really important that we engage each other as veterans and engage those veterans and say, hey, let's work on these problems together. When it comes to just about anything, we're loyal. Sometimes to a fault. I know I'm like, you guys see me every day wearing all my Kaweah Health stuff. I'm rocking the Kaweah Health stuff like every day. It matters to me. My brand matters to me. Hey, 9th Combat Engineer Battalion, 1st Infantry Division, for life, man. And Kaweah Health for life too. I'm actually 3rd generation Kaweah Health, so it doesn't.
Wow.
And I think that another trait that veterans have that is important is resiliency. And I think that it's something that, I have an opportunity. I was a classroom teacher for 14 years prior to being here. And I still coach at the high school level. And I see a lack of resiliency in our young people. And a lot of those young people, those are our future coworkers. And we have a group here of veterans who are very resilient people. You guys learn resiliency from basic training, and it was ingrained in you, and it just carried throughout, right? And that resiliency is really important. It's something that our organization can rely on and lean on, especially when times are tough, whether it be COVID or financial distress or whatever it is that's going on. We have a group of people here, with 108 or whatever it was, who are resilient and we can be relied on, and don't think that we're just grumpy faced, and know that we're all about team. We're all about being resilient, and you know, really glad to be part of the organization.
Thank you. I think stories, panelists, thank you very much. It was great, number one, that you volunteered to stand up here with me and sit in chairs and make sure it wasn't just one person, another one person talking about their experiences. So thank you. Round of applause for our panelists, please. Now I'm going to bring up Assemblyman Mathis and Gary. We are going to pass out certificates and pins.
Before we start, I just thank you, Jill, and thank you, our panelists of veterans. Thank you for treating us to your fascinating, inspiring, and encouraging stories. I know for me personally, if I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to think back about Tim's words and his words of inspiration and support, and that was wonderful, Tim. Thank you. And thank you all for being a part of the Kaweah Health family. We are so privileged and fortunate that your military paths brought you to our organization and the richness of your past and your history. So thank you. Okay. Deborah?
Yeah, Jill's going to announce their names.
I'm going to pass out pins.
Pins
The
or-
Kaweah Health, if you want to pass out the certificates, that'd be great. No, she's not here. If you want to stand behind, I need, like, that's my cue of who's in line here. So we have, like we said, we have, final tally was 111. We had a couple more veterans we identified yesterday. So that's something very, something to be very proud of. All right, so without further ado, we're going to move on to introducing our veterans that are here. First up, we have Timothy Alvarado. Next, we have me, Jill Anderson. All right. Next up, Dr. Roberto Bonilla. Glenn Bird. Willie Cannon. Art Castro. Trevor Chapman. Carl Fabrizio. Christian Garcia Diaz. Dr. Roger Haley. Dr. John Hipskind. Alexis Jimenez. Shemaiah King. Joe Laderio. Nayeli Sacido Luna. Good one, Chris Luttrell. Ron Malone. Leroy McBride. Rich Moore. Peter Andras. Chris Ortiz. Christopher, sorry, I should have said your full name. Art Ramirez. Christopher Rogers. Carrie Summers. Dylan Bledsaw. And last but not least, we have Elliot Banuelos. All right, so Barry, you want to, we getting ready?
Yeah, thank you. First, I have to apologize to Chris. That's who I meant there. Although Tim, I enjoyed your comments as well, but yeah. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. All right. So I believe I am now going to introduce again Fernando and Tina, who are going to serenade us with God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. I'd like to invite you to join in. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Fernando. We have some incredibly talented people that work here at Kaweah Health. So we've reached the end of this very solemn but celebratory event, and I once again would like to thank all of our veterans who were able to join us today. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your service to our community. Your dedication, your selflessness is truly inspiring. Thank you, General Crow, who had to leave for Rotary because we are celebrating Veterans Day at Rotary with some of the honor flight attendees, so that's going to be a great event for them. Thank you, Assemblyman Mathis, for joining us today. We know you're incredibly busy right now and going on not too much sleep, so we appreciate your own personal sacrifices. I'd also like to thank everybody, our non-veterans that were all here today to help us celebrate and honor the true heroes in our organization and in our country. So thank you to all of you. And then I know you're all going to be incredibly busy on Friday, but maybe at 11 Friday morning, just take a pause out of your really busy day and say a silent thank you in both your mind and your heart for all of your Kaweah family colleagues that have served in our armed forces and now are serving in our community. So thank you all for making this a very special event. Kind of different than, and I agree, Joey, while it's only one day a year, it's a very special day, and I don't want us to ever stop. And I love the panelists. I love the approach. COVID obviously kind of suppressed some of our celebration last couple of years, but it's great to have everybody back and be able to celebrate in person. So I hope you all have a great Wednesday, and we're done. Thank you.